So
we are learning that a roughly 25-minute to 30-minute timing is superior in Dota in the first game.
That's what we learned right now.
Anecdotally speaking,
yes,
100% win rate.
It's all anecdote in Dota. Ask this guy. It is, right? It's all instinct. There's no
there's a lot of
math
instinct
behind it. It's all chaos. It's all instinct, right?
No.
Okay.
No, of course. A lot of like pro players, I think there is math that goes into it, but it becomes instinct. It's so instinctive to you how it works. Like you don't really think of it as math anymore. It's just your intuition tells you this is the way to go in a lot of situations. I think people are different. I think some people probably think about it more structurally, and they be like, yeah, this is good because it hits at this timing and he hits at this timing. I think others just feel it out a bit more. But for me, I think the big conclusion from all 4 of these games is that if your timing beats the enemy team's timing, then the enemy team is forced to run into you and do bad things, is what I noticed. I think it's like, when it comes to drafting especially, because as a captain, it's very interesting to me. It seems like the teams that did well, like both EG, OG to me, had drafts where I could clearly see that their timing was going to beat the enemy team's timing.
Yeah.
And that sets them up for a much easier early game where they can play passive and let the enemy team come and fight into their wards.
Yeah, it didn't feel like the laning stage on itself on any of the games. Well, obviously IGT1 we didn't really see that too much, but didn't have too much of an impact because it's all about that timing. Once it's there, then you go. Before that, you're just chilling on your side.
That's I was reading an interview. It was the boy Arthur Leon. I'm probably totally butchering it. Does he go by Leon Arthur or Arthur Leon? I don't know. But I was looking.
I think it's Leon.
Leon. He's popping off on Reddit these days, translating a lot of these Chinese interviews. And I was looking at one with LGD, and they were actually saying that they think a huge reason that they're beating, and especially a lot of the other Chinese teams, is based on essentially picking a timing that they know is stronger, and then just saying, you come at us, and you're not good enough to break our defense, essentially. And they said that they didn't win every game like that, but they take those games when they can, and often you can get those where it's just like they literally said the word turtle. You turtle and go late. That's it.
So during Secret's era of dominance in the online period, this is what it felt like, because we played against them all the time. And it just felt like Secret, they would pick some heroes, they would do whatever in lanes. You could beat them sometimes, they would let you outdraft them in lanes some games, and you could beat them in lanes, it was possible. But then they just set up the wall. There's a puppy on the high ground, you know where he is, you don't see him, but you know he's there.
Yeah.
And then they just wait for you, because they know if you go up that hill, you're going to lose the game. And the map hasn't fundamentally changed that much in that way, so I think like the concept of that way of playing still works pretty effectively for them. And I think a lot of the teams right now have understood that that's the way to do it. And I mean, a year has passed since then, so.
The idea is like, essentially that the high ground advantage is so strong because of vision, the mischance, that even though they have a weaker draft at that point, you still can't run up into them, and then they just farm and wait until they have that strong point, and then they go to you, right?
Or like you're so even, like the difference is not big enough to where you can cross the vision gap that they have for the high ground. Yeah,
Sorry
if this is getting too complex.
No, this is good.
This is
I mean,
cool.
we have nothing else to do anyway. But then, does that mean that why aren't late game carries more common? Why am I not seeing Naga, Anti-Mage, Arc Wardens? If you have that ability to turtle so resiliently.
So that's part of it, right? You're picking heroes like Lynx, for example, because it makes their map small. It forces the enemy team to group up while you're controlling map, so you can out-farm them and get ahead. I think you will see Anti-Mages, and I think you will see Nagas, but it needs to be in the correct games. It's a lot about matchups and timings. I think like if your timing is too slow, like in the Alliance OG case, where I think the Morphling Shaker is very, very strong, but they just never comes online.
Yeah.
OG went poked high ground at 18 minutes, and it puts Alliance in a very awkward position.
Yeah, it's too late at that point.
Right, so you need to match your timing where it's slightly later than the opponents. I think that's going to be a big skill. Again, it's day one group stage, and this is just the first impression that I'm getting.
And it's just the first game also for all of the teams, right? So how much are we going to see things change for game number 2? Because we talked about this a little bit. People come in with a plan. If it didn't work game 1, are you going to throw it out the window? No. It's too little to go off of.
I think Astra will definitely ban Tiny in the next game.
Sure, that is fair. I think
through.
they're also probably have someone watching the other streams like, wait a second, guys, we probably shouldn't.
Can they watch the other games?
I mean, coaches are
mean,
not
they
in the
have a
room, right? So they're watching other
Yeah,
games.
they
But
can-
yeah, so then in between games they debrief and be like, "Yo, I saw
Yeah.
IO gyro on this other game."
So that's the benefit of the analyst, right?
Yes.
For us, for example, Jabs would be spending most of his time looking at all the other games, while William focuses on Blitz, focuses on our
Your
own
game.
games. So they have like different info to come with.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, yeah, I think
You want to have someone watching.
to debrief.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot of. I mean, we just saw that not a single hero was duplicated. It took 4 of us
Yeah.
to figure that out. And now game 2, yeah. So I think EG, they're not going to get tiny again. I think that T1 didn't really show enough on the IO. I think they can.
It's hard to say,
IG
right?
can
We didn't
let
get
IO
to
go.
see the game that much.
Yeah.
Sure, but well, especially because it was against a Morphling, like you said, and Morph is a great answer to Gyrocopter in general. But
That's a weird matchup because I feel like with the strength of Scotty, it's like gone kind of the other way, and the fact that Gyro will like totally outfarm a Morphling, especially with an IO.
So-
that it's like in order to beat that as Morphling, you actually have to. It's not as like easy as it used to be. You know, you have to actually kind of outskill. But we didn't. You know, we didn't.
As a gyrocopter specialist myself, I was forced to practice it after
Yes,
TI.
sorry.
It was a
Sorry
requirement
for
for my
laughing.
team.
Sorry. For
My team was
that
like,
was your
Aiden,
community service.
It's actually a
you
great
need to
support
play
now.
gyrocopter to gold tier at least, just so we're safe for next TI.
Smart.
And then we
Just
didn't
in case.
qualify. Anyway,
would've
you
worked.
have as gyrocopter, you have the advantage that you can outfarm most carries, and Wisp kind of enables that playstyle because you don't need to buy regen. You just get health regen from the Wisp, and you're saving a lot of gold on these small things. So that's the nice thing about that matchup for them, but the downside is that if the enemy team is able to pressure you, which I assume IG was able to do, we didn't, again, get to see the game, but pressure their timings and not let the gyro just free farm the map, he doesn't really get ahead of the Morph. But if they both just farm slowly on the respective sides of the map, gyro will have 4 items when Morph has 2,
Yep.
and then that advantage is just too big to overcome.
Now the question is, how the hell can you look at 4 games that didn't have a single repeated hero until like 4th pick, and then be like, this is what we need to be drafting? It's like there's nothing.
Yeah, that's why I'm mainly just looking at the first, or I'm looking at the carries primarily.
The bans are pretty reasonable.
And the bans as well, yeah. And so I think, I mean, you were mentioning that life's good for 5 positions on our previous panel right now, and it seems like everything was working. The Dawnbreaker looked successful. One of the Lions looked successful. Did one of the Undyings win? Did
I
either
think
of the
one of the Undying Morphs won. I'm not
the
sure
Undying
actually.
Morph won?
I have a laptop. I will
Yeah,
Dota
we'll
have
check it out
stats?
for us.
Yeah, I will be
Yeah.
the stats guy. Call me
100% win weight on Dawnbreaker.
I
of
think
all
so too.
TIs.
So if I'm an analyst, I would have been most curious about that. See, like, because obviously we didn't see the laning stage of VP, so we don't know why exactly they got ahead as much as they did in the end. But I mean, I don't know. I would put extra eyes on Dawnbreaker. That was a first pick Dawnbreaker. Crushed
Yeah.
it. Well, as far as we know, crushed it. So I don't know. I want to see more of that because we didn't see it banned. I want to see Tiny banned. I just also want to see just new things. Even though I know we just had 4 series with all different rosters.
Both Undyings lost, so it's not looking good for our,
yeah.
our zombie
Okay,
boy here.
Interesting.
A little bit rough for
Okay.
him.
Yeah.
So that's
That-
also something that's worth talking about. Whenever a hero is very, very powerful in the lead up to TI, everybody will have an idea on how
Yeah.
to beat it. And I think that might have been one of the reasons Aster let Tiny through, where they were like, oh yeah, we have this
Necrophos.
Necro, right,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
beats the Tiny. This is the answer to it. And if you can figure out what beats the hero that everybody wants very early on, you can bait them into picking it over and over and over again. I know in our personal run during ESL, Lifestealer was very, very popular, and we had 4 answers to it. So we just kept letting teams first pick Lifestealer, and they were throwing themselves over it. They're like, nice, we got the best hero of the patch. And then we kept answering it, and it makes drafting pretty easy for you. So whoever figures out how to be Tiny early on has a massive edge throughout like the entirety of the tournament. So it might be worth losing 1 or 2 group stage games here and there, letting it through just to get that advantage.
You're making
Just to
me,
get the experience.
I'm really regretting my compendium picks. I wish I had talked to you this is make sounding Pen goes down to any of these games. Nobody cares.
Is there a different
Tiny's not gonna
group stage to main stage prediction?
Yeah,
like
there
I think so, yeah. Thank
Okay.
God.
There are 2
Thank-
stages.
Thank Gaben. Thank Gaben for that. Oh, jeez. I have nothing else to say on that note. That was it.
Yeah.
What'd you guys pick for your compendium?
I was
win.
I
too
picked
late.
Tiny for most picked and
Who's
most
winning
banned.
the entire tournament?
Secret. That's what I picked.
You picked Secret?
Did we
I
already
picked
go over
Secret. Well, I thought we went over our favorites.
Favorites?
Was it not the same answer for you guys? I picked Secret because they're actually bad before TI for once. So that they're taking the OG stride.
Flaw.
I think Secret's biggest advantage this year is no Kuro, right?
Yeah, also
Yes.
true.
Oh, that was
Kuro
a-
had
yeah.
eliminated
Yeah.
Secret every time in the last 3 years.
Yes. Also, they have OG and Secret have never faced a TI. Which, by the way, the group stages, they're on separate groups. So we'll have to see if they face each other in playoffs or if they're going to go again. Because traditionally in Europe, there was the trifecta at the top with OG, then Liquid, and Secret. And it was always Secret beat OG, OG beat Liquid, now Nigma. Nigma beat Secret. And
Rock, paper,
it was
scissors.
always that. And unfortunately for Team Secret, they got the short end of the stick of facing Kuro multiple times in a row at TI and getting eliminated in the lower bracket. And
You never want to face Kuro in the lower bracket.
no, it's nobody does.
That's the worst place to meet that man. So OG beat
Yes.
Alliance.
Yeah.
Alliance is supposed to be the
EU top.
EU
Slayers.
The EU Slayers.
Yeah.
What does that say for the rest of their tournament? Does it mean that they're not the EU Slayers, but they are the NA Slayers and the China Slayers? Or is it looking rough?
Or OG is in TI form.
Yeah, also true.
That is
I
also,
think this
yeah.
is a different OG than we
True.
saw. So for people unaware what OG's journey has been this DPC season, Season 1 and Season 2, they played a little bit with a different roster than what they did now. They only got Sumail added to the roster right before qualifiers, only right after the last major. So we have not really gotten a lot of data as to how this OG will do. Of course, we saw them in the qualifiers, but that was when their current iteration only was a week or two old. So we don't really know how they have evolved over these last few months because a lot has happened. They could have played a lot of games over these last few months and they could just be on another level. We don't know. We don't have that data. Well, this is our data. So far,
The
they
data
have the
is
first
the
game.
previous TIs.
Yeah.
Whenever they come in looking cold,
We know they can step
win it
up.
every
Yes.
single time. And
Exactly.
so I think it's a pretty consistent trend. If you missed it, you missed out on Ana coming back in the Season 2 DPC.
True. And then leaving again.
And then leaving again for good this time.
And every year it gets worse and worse and worse for them somehow. You know, Seb with the
With the eye surgery?
with the
Almost
pirate
wasn't
stuff
able
going
to
on.
play.
Yeah.
And the main underdogs, right? They are creating their own
I mean,
Cinderella
they're worse
story
underdogs
once again.
than they were previously, and that's always what baffles me. How we
Two
don't,
TI champion.
we're not in
underdogs.
a like. Are we in a simulation? They can't keep happening like this. I mean, it's one game. Obviously, it's one game. But I gotta say, like, I'm speaking from watching them in the qualifiers.
Yeah.
They looked really good.
Yeah.
I think.
And they played they played one of the ESL. Did they play both the ESLs or one of them?
I think only. Well, they played in the summer.
They played
That was their
summer.
first one with Sumail.
Correct. Did they play fall?
They didn't do that
No, I
well.
don't think
I
so.
believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No. And they didn't do fall. So we basically, and the summer was literally 3 days after it was
Yeah.
announced that
Yeah.
Sumail was going to stand in,
Yeah.
so or play with, be part of OG. So
And they looked a little shaky in that, like
Yeah.
definitely not TI form. But then going
No.
into the qualifiers, it was they looked TI form, but the question was also like how good is Tundra? And then Tundra came out and proved how
They
good they
good,
were
yeah.
right after that as well. And so it's like okay, well that makes me rethink like OG is very good.
ooh, let's take a look at the drafts because